Dr. Kim Tae-ho rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window of Frontier Station Epsilon. The stars shone brightly against the darkness of space. Earth was just a tiny dot of light from here, barely visible among thousands of other stars. This station was humanity's farthest outpost, the edge of human space. Tae-ho had been the station's head doctor for 3 years now. At 35, he was younger than most of his colleagues but already famous for his work in alien biology. He understood how different life forms worked in ways that surprised even the older alien species. "Dr. Kim, please report to the command center," said a voice over the station speakers. Tae-ho sighed and put down his coffee cup. He had just finished a 12-hour shift treating a mining crew that had been exposed to strange gases on a nearby moon. His black hair was messy and dark circles showed under his eyes, but duty called. In the command center, Station Commander Park stood with her arms crossed, looking at a large screen. Several other officers worked at their stations around her. "Dr. Kim, we have a situation," Commander Park said. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and a serious face. "We've picked up a distress signal from an unregistered ship about 30 minutes from our position." "What kind of ship?" Tae-ho asked. Officer Lee, who handled communications, looked up from his screen. "We can't tell. The message is automated and uses an old emergency code, but the ship design isn't in our database." "We should ignore it," said Security Chief Kang. He was a large man with a shaved head and a permanent frown. "This far out, it could be pirates trying to lure us into a trap." Tae-ho moved closer to the screen showing the mysterious ship. It was badly damaged, with parts of its hull torn open. Whatever had happened to it, the damage was real. "There could be people dying on that ship," Tae-ho said. "We took an oath to help those in need." "Your medical oath doesn't apply to space pirates or alien threats," Kang replied. Commander Park looked thoughtful. "Protocol says we should report this to Earth Command and wait for instructions." "That would take 8 hours," Tae-ho said. "Anyone injured on that ship could be dead by then." The room fell silent. Finally, Commander Park nodded. "We'll approach with caution, prepare a rescue team, but arm them heavily. Dr. Kim, get your medical bay ready." 2 hours later, Tae-ho stood in the docking bay with his medical team as the station's small rescue ship returned. His assistant, Yoon Ha-yoon, stood beside him with a medical scanner ready. "What did you find?" Tae-ho asked as the rescue team's leader stepped out. The man's face was pale. "3 aliens, Doctor. Species unknown, all badly injured." "Bring them to Medical Bay 1, Tae-ho ordered, already moving. The aliens were carried in on stretchers. Tae-ho's breath caught in his throat when he saw them. They were humanoid, but definitely not human. Their skin was a deep blue-gray color with a slight metallic sheen. Each had 4 eyes, 2 large ones where humans had eyes, and 2 smaller ones above them. Their hands had 6 fingers each, ending in small claws. But most striking were their teeth. 3 rows of sharp, pointed teeth visible even with their mouths closed. These were predators. "Running them through the species database now," Ha-yoon said, working at a computer terminal. Tae-ho didn't wait. He began scanning the first alien with his medical tools. "This one has severe internal bleeding and something like radiation poisoning. Get me the blue stabilizer and prepare for surgery." The medical team moved quickly, but some looked nervous, working on the strange aliens. "Doctor," Ha-yoon said, her voice tight. "The computer has identified them. They're Neverends." The medical bay went silent. Everyone on the station had heard of the Neverends. Humans had only been traveling in space for a few decades, but they had quickly learned about the major powers in the galaxy. The Neverends were feared throughout known space, a powerful empire of predatory aliens known for their advanced technology and aggressive expansion. Some called them star killers because of rumors that they had destroyed entire solar systems during wars. "They're Neverends." "Are you sure?" asked one of the nurses, taking a step back. 98% match, Ha-yoon confirmed, looking worried. Security. Chief Kang burst into the medical bay with 4 armed guards. "We need to secure these creatures immediately. They're Neverends." "They're patients," Tae-ho said firmly, continuing to work on the injured alien. "Doctor, you don't understand," Kang said. "The Neverends are the most dangerous species we know of. If their fleet finds out we have their people, They might think we attacked them. And if their fleet finds out we let their people die when we could have saved them, would that be better? Taeho asked without looking up from his work. Commander Park entered the medical bay, surveying the scene with a careful eye. Dr. Kim, a word please. Taeho reluctantly stepped away from the patient, giving instructions to his team before joining the commander in the corner of the room. Doctor, I understand your commitment to helping those in need, Park said quietly. But we need to consider the safety of the station and its crew. The Neverans have destroyed entire worlds. With all due respect, Commander, these three are unconscious and dying, Taeho said. They pose no threat right now, and I took an oath to treat all patients regardless of species. And what happens when they wake up? Then we talk to them and find out why they were in a damaged ship near our station, Park sighed. You have 12 hours. If they become a threat or if any Neveran ships approach, we'll need to take more drastic measures. Taeho nodded and returned to his patients. The next few hours were intense. The Neverans' biology was fascinating and complex. Their cellular structure allowed for incredible regeneration abilities, but something was blocking this natural healing process. It's some kind of pathogen, Taeho said, looking at a sample under a microscope. It's attacking their immune system. I've never seen anything like it. Could it be contagious to humans? Hyun asked, concern in her voice. No, it's specifically designed to attack their unique biology, Taeho replied. Then he frowned. Actually, that's strange. This looks engineered, not natural. As Taeho worked through the night, the condition of the Neverans remained critical. He tried various treatments, but their bodies rejected most of them. The station's computer had little information on Neveran biology. No one had ever treated them before. During the early morning hours, as Taeho was adjusting a treatment formula, one of the Neverans began to stir. It was the one who seemed to be the leader, judging by the markings on its clothing. The alien's four eyes opened slowly, the larger pair focusing on Taeho. The doctor froze, uncertain what would happen next. The security guards raised their weapons. You helping us? The Neveran asked in broken standard language, its voice deep and raspy. Yes, Taeho said simply. I'm a doctor. You're badly injured. The Neveran's eyes blinked in sequence. I am Commander Rill. We were attacked. Important mission. Peace talks. Peace talks? Taeho asked, surprised. Yes, meeting with Araxians to end war. The Neveran's breathing became labored. Must survive. Tell my people. Save your strength, Taeho said. I'll do everything I can to help you and your crew. The Neveran reached out with a six-fingered hand and gripped Taeho's arm with surprising strength. Why help, enemy? Taeho looked into the four eyes of the alien predator and answered simply, In my medical bay, there are no enemies. Only patients. The Neveran's mouth opened slightly, revealing those rows of sharp teeth in what might have been a smile, before it lost consciousness again. Taeho turned to Haon. We need to work faster. These aren't just any Neverans. They're diplomats, on a peace mission. If they die here, we might be responsible for a continuing war. As the station's day cycle began, Taeho continued his desperate fight to save the three aliens that everyone else in the galaxy feared. He didn't know it yet, but his simple decision to help those in need would soon change the fate of entire star systems. 3 days passed. Taeho had barely slept. His eyes were red, and his hands shook slightly as he worked. Empty coffee cups littered his desk. The three Neverans still fought for their lives in the medical bay. Dr. Kim, you need to rest, Hyun said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her face showed concern. You've been awake for more than 70 hours. I'll rest when they're stable, Taeho replied, studying the latest blood samples from the Neverans. Their condition is still getting worse. This pathogen is unlike anything I've seen. The door to the medical bay slid open. Commander Park walked in with Security Chief Kang and Political Officer Lee Soo-jin. Their faces were serious. Dr. Kim, we need to talk, Commander Park said. Earth Command has learned about our guests. They've ordered us to stop treatment and put the Neverends in stasis until a military ship can collect them. Tejo stood up straight. These patients will die in stasis. Their systems are too weak. That may be the safest outcome for everyone, Kang said coldly. If they die naturally from their injuries, the Neverend Empire can't blame us. We can't just let them die, Tejo said, his voice rising. They were on a diplomatic mission. This could be our chance to make peace with a powerful species. Political Officer Lee stepped forward. She was a thin woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Dr. Kim, I understand your medical ethics, but this is now a political matter. Helping the Neverends could be seen as taking sides in a galactic conflict. Humanity is still new to interstellar politics. We must be careful. Tejo looked at the 3 Neverends lying on the medical beds. Machines beeped around them, showing their weakening life signs. Give me one more day, he pleaded. I think I'm close to understanding how to fight this pathogen. Commander Park hesitated, then nodded slightly. 24 hours, Doctor. Not 1 minute more. After they left, Tejo turned to Ha-Un. We need to work faster. Get me the latest scans of their cellular structure. Ha-Un moved to the computer terminal. After a few minutes of studying the results, she gasped. Doctor, look at this pattern in the pathogen's DNA. It has markers of artificial creation. Tejo hurried to her side. You're right. This wasn't a natural illness. Someone engineered this specifically to attack Neverends. This wasn't an accident, Ha-Un said quietly. Someone tried to assassinate them. Tejo spent the next 12 hours developing a treatment. The Neverends' biology was complex, with healing abilities far beyond humans. But the engineered pathogen was specifically designed to block these abilities. I think I have an idea, Tejo said finally. Their cells can regenerate if we can remove the pathogen's blockage. What if we introduce specially programmed nanites to target only the pathogen? Our medical nanites aren't advanced enough to distinguish between the pathogen and normal Neverend cells, Ha-Un pointed out. Tejo nodded. That's why we need to create a new program for them. And we need a delivery system that won't be rejected by their bodies. He paused, considering the options. My blood? What? Ha-Un looked confused. Human blood has properties their immune systems don't recognize but also don't immediately attack. If I introduce the nanites through a direct blood exchange, it might work. Ha-Un's eyes widened. That's incredibly dangerous. You could be infected by whatever is killing them. The pathogen is designed for their biology, not human biology, Tejo reminded her. Begin preparing the nanites. We don't have much time. 4 hours later, the procedure was ready. Tejo lay on a bed next to Commander Rill, the leader of the Neverend group. Tubes connected their arms, ready to exchange blood. This is a terrible idea, Ha-Un said, checking the equipment one last time. It's the only idea we have left, Tejo replied. Start the procedure. As his blood began to flow into the Neverend's body, carrying the specially programmed nanites, Tejo felt a strange sensation. The room seemed to fade around him, replaced by flashing images. He was seeing memories, but not his own. He saw a world with 3 moons and vast oceans. He saw huge cities with tall, curved buildings. He saw Neverends training for battle, but also teaching young ones, creating art, building ships. He saw Commander Rill meeting with other Neverends, arguing passionately for peace talks with their enemies. He saw the attack on their ship, a surprise, strike from what looked like Araxian fighters. Most importantly, he saw the truth about the Star Killer stories. The Neverends had indeed transformed stars, but as defensive measures during wars they didn't start. They were powerful and dangerous, yes, but not the mindless killers many believed them to be. They were predators trying to find their place in a galaxy that feared them. The images faded as Ha-Un shook his shoulder. Doctor, your heart rate is spiking. We need to stop. No, Tejo whispered. Keep going. It's working. The procedure continued for another hour. When it was complete, Tejo was pale and weak, but Commander Rill's vital signs had stabilized. The treatment is working, Ha-Yun said in amazement, checking the monitors. The pathogen is breaking down. Tae-ho nodded weakly. Prepare the same treatment for the other two. You can't undergo 2 more blood exchanges, Ha-Yun protested. It could kill you. Then use my blood from the first exchange, Tae-ho said. It already has the nanites. Filter it, increase the nanite concentration, and use it for the others. Ha-Yun worked quickly. By the time Commander Park returned to check on them, all 3 Neverends showed signs of improvement. I don't believe it, Commander Park said, looking at the readings. You actually found a cure. They'll need time to fully recover, Tae-ho said from his bed where Ha-Yun had forced him to rest. But they should survive now. That's impressive work, Doctor, Park admitted. But we may have a new problem. What do you mean? Tae-ho asked. Park's face was grim. Long-range sensors have detected ships entering this system. A lot of ships. Neverand design. The room fell silent. How many? Tae-ho finally asked. 15 warships so far, Park replied. And more appearing. They're heading straight for us. Security Chief Kang burst into the room. Commander, the Neverand fleet is hailing us. They're demanding to know about their diplomatic vessel. Tell them the truth, Tae-ho said, sitting up despite his weakness. Tell them we found their ship damaged and we're treating the survivors. They might think we're the ones who attacked them, Political Officer Lee warned, entering behind Kang. This could be the end of our station. As the station leaders argued about what to do, a weak voice spoke from the bed beside Tae-ho. Give me communication device, Commander Reel said, his 4 eyes now open and alert. The humans turned to stare at the Neverand. I will speak to my people, Reel continued. Tell them what happened, what you did for us. Tae-ho looked at Commander. Park-chin, let him talk to them, it's our best chance. Park hesitated, then nodded to Officer Lee. Bring a communication unit, let's hope this works. As they waited for the device, Reel turned his head to look at Tae-ho. You shared blood with me, saw my memories. Tae-ho nodded. I saw many things. Your world, your people, the truth about the stars. Now I understand why you helped us, Reel said. Your species is young, but interesting. You see beings, not just enemies. Before Tae-ho could respond, Officer Lee returned with the communication device. She handed it to Reel with visible nervousness. The Neverand took it and spoke, in a series of clicking sounds and deep tones, his native language. The sounds went on for several minutes. When he finished, he handed the device back. What did you tell them? Tae-ho asked. The truth, Reel replied. That humans found us dying. That when all others would let Neverends die, one human doctor said no. That you shared your blood to save me. The station's speakers suddenly came to life. Station command. This is security. The Neverend fleet has stopped advancing. One ship is approaching. They're requesting permission to send a single visitor to the station. Commander Park looked at Reel, then at Tae-ho. It seems your patient has bought us some time, Doctor. Let's hope it's enough. The entire station was on high alert. Security teams stood at every important doorway. Engineers checked the shields, though everyone knew they wouldn't last long against a Neverand fleet. In the medical bay, Tae-ho had finally been convinced to rest. He lay on a bed near his Neverand patients, with Ha-Yun monitoring both him and the aliens. Doctor, wake up, Ha-Yun said, gently shaking his shoulder. They're here. Tae-ho sat up quickly, still feeling weak from the blood exchange. The Neverands, how many came aboard? Just one, Ha-Yun replied. But everyone is terrified. They say it's their leader. The door to the medical bay slid open. Commander Park entered first, her face tight with tension. Behind her walked a Neverand larger than Commander Reel. This one wore armor with intricate designs that seemed to glow slightly. 4 piercing eyes scanned the room, settling first on the 3 recovering Neverands, then on Tae-ho. Dr. Kim, Commander Park said stiffly, this is Supreme Overseer Dax of the Neverand Imperium. Tae-ho stood up, trying not to show weakness. Welcome to our station, Supreme Overseer. The large Neveran stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and surprisingly clear in the human language. "You are the one who saved my child." Teho blinked in surprise. "Your child?" "Commander Real is my offspring," Dax said. "The first of my line to seek peace rather than conquest. Many thought it foolish." From his bed, Real made a soft clicking sound that might have been embarrassment. Dax turned to Real and spoke in their native language. Real responded, and they conversed for several minutes. Teho noticed that despite his size and fierce appearance, Dax's manner with Real seemed gentle, almost tender. Finally, Dax turned back to Teho. "My child has shared with me what happened. You found them dying. You treated them when your people advised against it. You shared your own blood to save them. I'm a doctor," Teho said simply. "It's my job to help those in need." "No," Dax said firmly. "We have encountered many species across many stars. Few would help a Neveran. Most fear us too much." The Supreme Overseer walked closer to Teho, towering over him. The security guards tensed, hands moving to their weapons. "I have seen your mind," Real said from the bed. "Through our blood connection, Teho does not see enemies, only people who need help." Dax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "This is why you interest me, human. You knew our reputation. You knew the risk. Yet you helped anyway." "The mission Real was on," Teho said. "The peace talks. Will they still happen?" "Yes," Dax replied. "That is our other purpose here, to continue to the meeting place. The Araxian collective still waits, though I suspect some of their kind were behind the attack on my child's ship." Political Officer Lee, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "Supreme Overseer, if I may ask, why is this peace so important? Our records suggest the conflict between Neverans and Araxians has lasted centuries." "It has lasted too long," Dax said. "Both our peoples tire of war, and there are greater threats coming from the outer reaches. We must not be divided when they arrive." The room fell silent as everyone considered this ominous statement. Dax turned back to Teho. "In our culture, life debts are sacred. You saved not only my child but also Science Officer Krev and Diplomat Mez. You saved our mission of peace. The Neveran Imperium owes you a debt that cannot be measured." "No debt is necessary," Teho said. "I was just doing what was right." "Nevertheless," Dax continued, "the debt exists. From this day forward, Dr. Kim Teho is under the protection of the Neveran Imperium. Any harm to him will be answered with the full might of our forces." Commander Park looked alarmed. "Supreme Overseer, Dr. Kim is a citizen of Earth. He falls under our protection and our laws. Your protection is now supplemented," Dax said, in a tone that ended discussion. "We will not interfere with his life or his work, but we will ensure his safety always." Dax reached into a pouch at his side and pulled out a small device. It was a metallic disc about the size of a coin with intricate patterns etched into its surface. "This is a quantum-linked communicator," Dax explained, holding it out to Teho. "It connects directly to the Neveran High Command. If you ever need our assistance for any reason, you need only activate it." Teho hesitated, then accepted the device. It felt warm in his hand, almost alive. "I hope I never need to use it," he said honestly. "As do I," Dax replied. "But the galaxy is vast and full of dangers. It brings me comfort to know you can call upon us if needed." Dax turned to his recovering child. "Rest and heal, Ril. When you are strong enough, join us for the peace talks. Your vision of harmony between our peoples may yet come true." Ril made a gesture with their 6-fingered hand that seemed respectful. "Thank you, parent." Dax faced the humans once more. "We will leave a medical ship near your station until our people are fully recovered. Then we will continue our journey to the Peace Summit. You have my gratitude, humans of Frontier Station Epsilon." With that, the Supreme Overseer left the medical bay, escorted by Commander Park and the security team. When they were gone, Ha-Un let out a breath she'd been holding. That was the Supreme Overseer of the Neveran Imperium, the leader of the most powerful military force in this sector of the galaxy. And he just gave you a direct line to him. Teho looked down at the small disc in his hand. I think I just got involved in something much bigger than treating 3 patients. You could say that, Ha-Yun agreed. How do you feel about having the protection of an empire known for destroying stars? Uncomfortable, Tae-ho admitted. But maybe this connection can lead to something good. If humans can help broker peace between the Neverans and Araxians, it could change how all species see us. 3 months later, Tae-ho was on a transport ship heading to Earth for a medical conference. His work with the Neverans had made him famous, or infamous depending on who you asked. Some hailed him as a hero who had potentially brought peace between galactic powers. Others feared he had drawn dangerous attention to humanity. Tae-ho was reading research notes in his cabin when the ship's alarm began blaring. He rushed to the corridor where crew members were running toward the bridge. "What's happening?" he asked a passing engineer. "Araxian raiders," the woman replied without stopping. "They came out of nowhere. 3 ships, heavily armed. They're demanding we surrender a passenger." A cold feeling settled in Tae-ho's stomach. He knew which passenger they wanted. He hurried back to his cabin and grabbed the small disc Dax had given him. He had never activated it before. He wasn't even sure how it worked. But as soon as he picked it up, the disc began to glow. A moment later, the ship's captain's voice came over the speakers. "All passengers, remain calm. The Araxian vessels are approaching to board." The announcement cut off abruptly. Then the captain spoke again, his voice filled with awe. "All passengers remain in your cabins. A Neveran warship has just appeared. It's destroying the Araxian vessels." Tae-ho went to the small window in his cabin. In the distance, he could see flashes of light as weapons fired. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than a minute. When it was over, debris floated where the Araxian ships had been. The Neveran cruiser hung in space for a moment, then vanished in a flash of light, jumping away without ever communicating with the human vessel. The quantum disk in Tae-ho's hand stopped glowing. He hadn't even needed to call for help. The Neverans had already been watching over him. As Tae-ho stared out at the stars, he realized the full meaning of Dax's promise. He wasn't just under the protection of the Neveran Imperium in some vague diplomatic sense. He was being actively watched and guarded at all times by a species willing to destroy anyone who threatened him. The thought was both comforting and terrifying. The simple act of treating 3 injured aliens had changed his life forever. 2 years passed. Dr. Kim Tae-ho's life had changed in ways he never expected. After saving the Neveran diplomats, he had become both famous and controversial throughout human space. Some called him a hero who had helped broker peace between galactic powers. Others thought he had brought dangerous attention to humanity by getting too involved with the feared star killers. What no one could deny was that his work in xenobiology had advanced tremendously. Commander Reel had kept in touch and provided Tae-ho with extensive data on Neveran biology, information no other human had ever seen. His research was revolutionizing medicine across species. Tae-ho now worked at a major research facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. His assistant, Yoon Ha-eun, had come with him from Frontier Station Epsilon. Over the past 2 years, they had grown closer, their relationship shifting from professional to personal. Today, they were preparing for a special expedition. Tae-ho looked up from his computer as Ha-eun entered his office. "The ship is ready," she said. "The Neveran research team arrived an hour ago." Tae-ho nodded. "Let's not keep them waiting." This expedition was groundbreaking, the first official joint research mission between humans and Neverans. They were traveling to a remote planet where a rare pathogen had been discovered. If they could understand it, they might develop treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. As they walked to the docking bay, Ha-eun touched his arm. "I saw a news report this morning. The peace talks between the Neverans and Araxians are still ongoing." 2 years of negotiations, Tae-ho said. "Reel told me that's actually fast for conflicts that have lasted centuries. Do you think it will last? The peace?" Tae-ho considered this. "I hope so, but there are groups on both sides that don't want peace." The research ship was small but well-equipped. 3 Neveran scientists waited inside, including Science Officer Krev, one of the diplomats Tae-ho had saved 2 years ago. A team of 4 other human researchers completed their group. Dr. Kim, Krev greeted him, with a gesture that Taeho had learned was a sign of great respect among Neverans. It is good to see you again. Likewise, Science Officer Krev, Taeho replied. How is Commander Real? Still fighting for peace, Krev said. The commander speaks often of you. You changed many minds about humans. The trip to the remote planet took 3 days. Taeho used the time to review all available data on the pathogen they were studying. It had unusual properties that allowed it to cross between different species biology, something very rare and potentially dangerous, but also valuable for medical research. When they landed, the planet's surface was foggy and cold. They set up a research camp near where the pathogen had been detected. Work began immediately, with both human and Neveran scientists collecting samples and running tests. On the 3rd day, as Taeho was examining samples in the mobile lab, Ha-Yun rushed in. Taeho, we have a problem, she said, her voice tense. The communication system just picked up unusual signals. They're not natural. Other ships? Taeho asked, looking up from his microscope. I think so, and they're closing in fast. Taeho immediately contacted Krev, who was outside collecting samples. Science officer, we may have company. Unfriendly company. Return to the ship, Krev responded without hesitation. Now. They hurried to gather essential research materials, but before they could reach their ship, 3 smaller vessels descended through the fog. They landed between the research team and their ship, cutting off their escape. Araxians, Krev said, grimly as figures emerged from the vessels. Unlike the predatory Neverans, the Araxians were tall and slender with smooth, pale skin and large eyes. They moved with surprising speed. Why would Araxians attack a research mission? One of the human scientists asked. Because of me, Taeho realized. They're still angry that I saved the Neveran peace delegation. The Araxians spread out, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. One stepped forward, clearly the leader. Dr. Kim Taeho, the Araxian called out. You will come with us, the rest may live if they don't interfere. Krev moved in front of Taeho. You will not take him. We have no quarrel with you today, Neveran, the Araxian said. Our mission is specific. The human doctor has interfered in matters beyond his understanding. He must answer for this. Taeho stepped forward. If I go with you, will you let the others leave safely? Taeho, no. Ha-Un grabbed his arm. I won't let anyone die because of me, Taeho said quietly. Before he could take another step, the Araxians suddenly fired their weapons. Not at Taeho, but at Krev and the other Neverans. The energy beam struck with incredible force. Run! Krev shouted as they returned fire. Chaos erupted. The research team scattered, seeking cover behind equipment and rocks. The Neverans fought, fiercely, their natural combat abilities evident as they moved with shocking speed despite their injuries. Taeho and Ha-Un ran toward a nearby ridge. They needed to circle around to reach their ship. As they ran, weapon fire struck the ground near them, sending up sprays of dirt and rock. They're following us, Ha-Un said, breathing hard. They reached a small ravine and slid down into it for cover. Taeho pulled out the quantum communicator that Dax had given him 2 years ago. It activated at his touch, glowing warmly. Neveran help will come, Taeho said. But I don't know how soon. We need to keep moving. They crawled along the ravine, the sounds of fighting growing more distant. When they emerged, they could see their ship about half a kilometer away. But between them and safety stood 3 Araxian soldiers. There. One of the Araxians shouted, raising his weapon. Ha-Un pushed Taeho aside just as the weapon fired. The energy blast caught her in the side, and she fell with a cry of pain. Ha-Un! Taeho dropped to his knees beside her. Blood soaked through her suit where the blast had struck. The Araxians approached slowly, weapons aimed. Dr. Kim, you have nowhere to run. Come with us now. Taeho looked at Ha-Un. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. The wound was severe. Without immediate treatment, she would die. I need to help her, Taeho said, applying pressure to the wound. She needs medical attention. She is not our concern, the Araxian replied coldly. Suddenly, the sky above them darkened. A massive ship appeared, breaking through the atmosphere with a thunderous sound. It was much larger than their research vessel or the Araxian ships. Its design was unmistakably Neveran. The Araxians looked up in alarm. Before they could react, beams of light shot down from the Neveran ship, striking two of the Araxians. They vanished instantly, transported away. The remaining Araxian fired wildly at Teho, but another beam caught him mid-shot. Moments later, Teho and Ha'un were enveloped in light. The foggy planet disappeared around them, replaced by the gleaming interior of a Neveran medical bay. Medical staff rushed forward. They were a mix of Neverans and, surprisingly, humans wearing Neveran medical symbols. Dr. Kim, one of the human doctors, said, "We've been monitoring your expedition. When you activated the communicator, Supreme Overseer Dax dispatched us immediately." "Please," Teho said urgently, "help Ha-Yun first. She took a blast meant for me." The medical team carefully moved Ha-Yun to a treatment pod. Advanced equipment hummed around her as they worked to heal her injury. A tall Neveran entered the medical bay. Though not Dax, the markings on their armor indicated high rank. "Dr. Kim, I am Fleet Commander Vex," the Neveran said. "The Supreme Overseer has ordered us to bring you to safety. The Araxian attack on your research mission is a severe breach of the ongoing peace negotiations." "What about the others?" Teho asked. "Krev and the rest of our team?" "We have rescued all survivors," Vex replied. "Some are injured but alive. The Araxians who attacked you have been captured for questioning." Teho looked at Ha'un in the treatment pod. The medical equipment showed her condition stabilizing. He felt relief wash over him, followed by a realization. "This attack was specifically aimed at me, wasn't it?" he asked. "Yes," Vex confirmed. "Our intelligence suggests the Araxian collective views you as a symbol of Neveran-human cooperation. Some factions wish to eliminate you to send a message." Teho sighed. "I just wanted to help. I never meant to become a target in a galactic conflict." "Your compassion started a chain of events none could have predicted," Vex said. "But no, the debt we owe you remains sacred. Supreme Overseer Dax has upgraded your protection status to Imperial Priority 1. "What does that mean?" Teho asked. "It means," Vex said, "that the full might of the Neveran Imperium now stands ready to ensure your safety, at any cost." As Teho watched Ha-Yun's treatment, he wondered what any cost might mean in the hands of a species known for rearranging stars. The Neveran medical ship took Teho and Ha-Yun to a secure research facility on one of Jupiter's moons. The advanced Neveran medical treatment had saved Ha-Yun's life. After 2 weeks of recovery, she was almost back to full health. "You should return to Earth," Teho told her as they walked through the facility's garden dome. "It's safer there." Ha-Yun shook her head firmly. "I'm not leaving you." "The Araxians tried to kill you to get to me," Teho reminded her. "Next time, you might not be so lucky." "There won't be a next time," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Commander Reel entering the garden. In the 2 years since Teho had saved their life, Reel had risen to become a senior military leader in the Neveran Imperium. "Commander, I didn't know you were here," Teho said, surprised. "I arrived an hour ago," Reel replied. "The attack on your research team has changed things. The peace talks with the Araxians have collapsed." Teho's heart sank. "Because of me?" "No," Reel said firmly. "Because some Araxian factions never truly wanted peace. They used you as an excuse." A human officer hurried into the garden. "Commander Reel, Dr. Kim, we're picking up unusual activity at the edge of the system. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace." They rushed to the command center. The large screen showed dozens of ships appearing near Neptune's orbit. "Araxian battle fleet," Reel said grimly. "Nearly 100 vessels." "How did they find us?" Ha-Yun asked. "They must have tracked our rescue ship," Reel replied. "They're desperate to capture or kill Dr. Kim now." "But why?" Teho asked. "I'm just one human doctor." "You've become a symbol," Reel explained. "Your treatment of us led to the first real chance for peace in centuries. But powerful groups on both sides profit from war. They see you as a threat to their power." The commander turned to a Neveran communications officer. Alert the Supreme Overseer. Request immediate reinforcements. Teho watched as the dots representing Araxian ships moved closer to Jupiter. How long until they reach us? 3 hours. At their current speed, the officer replied. Rill made a decision. We need to evacuate. Get Dr. Kim and researcher Yoon to our fastest ship. Within minutes, Teho and Ha-Yoon were being rushed to a small but powerful Neveran vessel. Commander, Rill joined them. I'll personally ensure your safety, Rill told them as the ship prepared for launch. They shot away from Jupiter's moon, heading in the opposite direction from the approaching Araxian fleet. Teho watched on the view screen as Neveran defense ships moved to intercept the invaders. Will your people be safe? Teho asked Rill. They'll buy us time to escape, Rill replied. Reinforcements are on the way. For 6 hours, their ship raced through the solar system. Behind them, the battle near Jupiter raged. The Neveran defenders were outnumbered, but their superior technology allowed them to hold off the Araxians. Just as they passed Mars, alarms blared through their ship. 6 Araxian pursuit vessels have broken through, a crew member reported. They're gaining on us. Push the engines to maximum, Rill ordered. Set course for the Proxima system. Their ship accelerated, but the pursuing Araxians were faster. Energy blasts flashed past them, one striking their rear shields. Shields at 60%, the pilot reported. We can't outrun them. Rill touched a panel on their chair. A hidden compartment opened, revealing a small device similar to the quantum communicator Teho carried. This one, however, was clearly more powerful. This is Commander Rill, Royal Heir, to Supreme Overseer Dax, Rill spoke into the device. Imperial Priority 1 is compromised. I repeat, Imperial Priority 1 is compromised. Authorization code, Starshaper. The device glowed brightly, then dimmed. Rill looked at Teho with all 4 eyes. Help is coming, but we must survive until then. Another blast rocked their ship. The lights flickered. Shields at 30%, the pilot called. We can't take much more. Ha-Yoon gripped Teho's hand, tightly. Whatever happens, I'm glad I stayed with you. Teho felt a surge of emotion. I'm sorry I brought this danger to you. You saved lives, Ha-Yoon said. Never apologize for that. The ship shuddered again as more blasts struck them. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Shields failing, the pilot shouted. Brace for impact. Suddenly, the view screen lit up with intense light. A massive Neveran dreadnought appeared, in space before them, dwarfing both their small vessel and the pursuing Araxians. The Supreme Overseer's personal flagship, Rill said with obvious relief. The Starforge. Beams of energy shot from the massive ship, disabling the Araxian vessels in seconds. A voice came through their communication system. Commander Rill, this is Supreme Overseer Dax. We have you. Prepare for emergency docking. Their damaged ship was pulled into one of the Starforge's many docking bays. Medical teams waited as they disembarked. Supreme Overseer Dax himself stood among them. Dr. Kim. Dax greeted Teho. Once again, you face danger because of us. Not because of you, Teho said. Because I did what was right. Dax nodded. And now we must do what is right. The Araxian Collective has committed an act of war by invading a protected system and targeting you specifically. We cannot allow this to continue. What will you do? Teho asked, suddenly worried. Something we have done only 7 times in our history, Dax replied. Watch, and you will understand why we are called Star Killers. On the command deck of the Starforge, Teho, Ha-Yoon, and Rill stood with Dax as the massive ship traveled to a nearby star system. The main fleet of Araxian ships had regrouped there after the battle at Jupiter. This system is uninhabited except for the Araxian fleet, Dax explained. No innocent lives will be lost. The Starforge moved into position near the system's sun. Massive arrays extended from the ship, pointing toward the star. Begin the sundering, Dax ordered. Energy beams unlike anything Teho had ever seen shot from the Starforge into the sun. The star's surface began to ripple and change color. "What's happening?" Ha-Un whispered. "They're not destroying the star," Rill explained. "They're reshaping it." Before their eyes, the star began to collapse in on itself, forming what looked like a controlled black hole. But instead of consuming everything around it, the collapsing star released waves of energy that flowed outward in a precisely controlled pattern. The energy waves washed over the Araxian fleet. Where they touched, ships simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy and absorbed into the transformation process. "This is not destruction," Dax said to Tejo. "It is transformation. We are not erasing the star, but changing its purpose." Within minutes, the process was complete. Where a normal star had once burned, there now existed a pulsing sphere of energy, smaller but infinitely more powerful. "This star will now serve as a barrier," Dax explained. "Its energy has been converted to create a zone where no ships can pass without our permission. It will last for centuries, protecting this region of space and you." Tejo stared in awe. "This is why they call you star killers." "Yes," Dax said, "but we have never used this power for conquest despite what others believe. Every star we have transformed was to protect something precious to us. Our homeworld, our colonies. And now, you." "Me? I'm just one human. One human who showed compassion when others showed fear," Dax said. "One human who changed how we see your species. One human who gave us hope for peace." 5 years later, Tejo stood in the Great Hall of Concordance on a neutral space station. Beside him stood Ha-Un, now his wife. Before them, Supreme Overseer Dax of the Neveran Imperium and High Chancellor Zev of the Araxian Collective signed a historic peace treaty. The war that had lasted for centuries was finally ending, and it had begun with one doctor's simple decision: to help those in need, regardless of who they were. As the leaders signed the treaty, a Neveran guard approached Tejo. They carried a small crystalline container. Inside was a glowing fragment, a piece of the transformed star. The inscription on the container read, "For the one who healed us, we would rearrange the stars themselves." Tejo looked at Ha-Un, then at the gathered representatives of dozens of species. In treating 3 injured aliens against all advice, he had changed the galaxy forever. Sometimes the greatest power came not from weapons or technology, but from simple compassion.